Hi everyone! So today I'm here to do a Q&A, and after getting all of your questions, which by the way they were all amazing, I decided to kind of keep it more themed with like authory writing things. So let's get started. I have some tea here for myself and I have all my questions and everything I need. So I thought I would start off, since some of you may not know me or you might be new viewers, I would let you know a little bit about me. I am a homeschool graduate, a Christian girl. I am sister to 8 siblings, and I live with my family in Michigan, which is absolutely freezing right now. And I blog over at rufflesandgrace.com, and my first novel is currently in the publication process, and I'm self-publishing it. So that's a little bit me in a nutshell, and let's get started with the questions. I'm so excited, you guys. This is really fun. Okay, so the first question or questions are from Mary, and she said, what inspired you to write your novels so far? For instance, with Bound, do you have any experience with social work or something else that inspired your characters and story? That's a really good question. To generalize, usually there's some sort of real life thing that's inspired what I write, regardless of whether I realize it or not. For instance, I wrote London and afterwards was like, oh my word, I experienced something very similar and I didn't even think of it. Like, I wasn't trying to put myself into my story, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I had still channeled feelings and thoughts that I had had into my book without realizing it. But for Bound, there were a lot of things I feel like that kind of culminated into this story. For those of you who don't know, the story was actually inspired by a picture. One picture. I did a writing prompt last summer of 2016, and it was this picture of these two kids in a train station, and I just started writing what I saw in the picture. But after I finished, there was like a lot of these ideas running in my head, and I had asked, does anybody have an interest in me continuing this story? Would it be something you think it'd be a good idea? And I had a resounding yes. Everybody was like, yes, I want to read it. So I started to write a outline and an actual story for it. And again, for those of you who don't know, Bound is a novel that I'm currently publishing in serial form on my blog, and which will hopefully be published in paperback and Kindle form in the next few months. But anyway, so what inspired Bound? I don't have any background personally with social services or anything like that. I do know a bit about it, and some of the foster parent was inspired by very dear friends of ours. We don't get to see them as much as I would like, but the parents, they're foster parents, and they have had numerous foster children that they've taken care of, and I think just seeing their heart and their love for God and their love for these kids was very moving and inspiring to me, and I found myself thinking back to them. I do not know why they honked. I found myself thinking back to them a lot while writing, and just thinking about all of the amazing people who make up that part of the world. And in the homeschool community, there's kind of a little bit of a harshness against social services or child protective services or what have you, just because of some of the issues that they've had with homeschooling. But I wanted to highlight the fact that there are really amazing people who choose to work in this line of work, and there is a need. Child abuse is a very harsh subject, I feel like, and it's a lot. It's kind of like one of the hidden things in our culture that it's not really talked about. Not a lot of really people know about it, or like I said, talk about it. So I don't know. I feel like God just kind of put this burden on my heart for that story. So yeah, for the social services part, there was a dear couple that we know, and I think another family that just really inspired me with the hearts of these people who take in these kids. It's unbelievable, and God has a huge calling on their lives. Really inspires and blesses me. And then Jason's storyline, which when this is released, I don't know if the rest of his storyline will be finished on my blog or not, but Jason's storyline I can relate to a little bit. There was somebody in my family who kind of walked away for a while, and while I wasn't really in his head at all, I could relate to my mom or my family in the way that they felt. So Miss Mariah's, like, you know, her feelings and her emotion and her sadness behind that, you know, that wayward child, or that lost child, so to speak, the prodigal son, I could definitely relate to, and I think that's something that really came out in the story. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded of an answer. I may have to split this video into 2 sections. We'll see how it goes. But the next question is from Alyssa, and she said, when did you decide you wanted to be a writer, and what writers... Okay, I'll start that one. When did you decide you wanted to be a writer? That's a really hard question to answer. I've been writing stories for as long as I can remember. I have a notebook here from when I was 10, and I wrote stories. So I've always written. I just think I've never really sought in my immediate future to be a published author. And that really happened in the summer of 2015. My dear friend, Julia Erickson, had recently published her second book, and, you know, I started to, you know, start writing. She really inspired me to, like, actually make a purpose of writing. Like, I kind of just did it as a hobby when I felt like it, that type of thing. And after kind of like talking with her and seeing, you know, her publishing her books, I really got this drive to just start writing more and just start writing consistently. And so that was the summer of 2015, I think. And again, I started writing more, and I started sending her things and kind of getting her feedback. She's kind of my alpha reader, and kind of hearing what she had to say. And that's when I started drafting, like, the outline for London in the Dark. So that's when I really started, like, writing for more of a purpose than just for fun, if that makes sense. Her second question was, what writers have inspired you in your work? That's a really hard question too, because I have read a ton of stuff. But I would have to say some of the top people are Isabella Alden, who is a writer from, like, the 1800s, Grace Livingston Hill, who, in case some of you don't know, is actually her niece. But she, in my mind, is like the queen of Christian fiction. Martha Finley has inspired a lot of, she's probably what I read first. Like, I've read her for as long as I can remember. So Isabella Alden, Grace Livingston Hill, Martha Finley, Jean Stratton Porter, probably a little bit of Lorraine Snelling. She's probably, like, the only modern author who's really, like, inspired me a little bit. Hello. Lucy Maud Montgomery. Hands down, amazing writer. I've read pretty much everything she's written. And Louisa May Alcott. So those are probably my in the top 10. There are probably more, but I'll stop there so I don't keep going on the list. So Jessa asked, what is something you are passionate about that bleeds its way into your writing? Obviously, I mean, this feels like a pat answer, but my love for God is a huge thing that bleeds into my writing. I've never really felt like I could not include that in a story. You know what I mean? Like, there's always, some characters always, you know, praying, or it's just like this, you know, split-second response. That's just what they do. I don't know. That's just how I feel, and so that always bleeds into my writing. There's always going to be a character who is a Christian, and just my passion for God is always going to bleed into my stories. Other than that, something that bleeds into my stories is my passion, period. Like, just, I'm a very emotional person. I feel things, and I process things emotionally sometimes, and so I feel like that has worked its way into my stories a lot. I think I dive really deep into how the characters themselves are feeling, because I literally feel like I'm inside their heads at times. I literally cry over my characters at times. Like, as I'm writing, I have to wipe away tears to see what I'm writing, because the empathy I feel with the character is so deep that I feel what they're feeling. So I think that's probably the other thing that bleeds into my writing, is just my passion and my emotion for that. So Hannah asks, do you rely more on your experience or your imagination while writing? If it's the latter, do you often worry about your books not being realistic or accurate? That's an amazing question, Hannah. I would have to say half and half, and I think that's probably true for most writers. There's always going to be, as a writer, I think you always channel what you've experienced into your writing in some way, shape, or form. I have not experienced some of the things my characters have experienced to that degree, but I have experienced similar things or have processed things the same way. And if you're asking more from like a story perspective, it's more my imagination, but by experience, I haven't obviously experienced what it's like to live in the 1910 in London, which is where London in the Dark is set. But I have read a lot, and I've researched a lot, and explored that time period and the political things that were going on. So I do a lot of research that helps as well. If you're writing purely from imagination, like I said, research helps a lot, and it helps it with being realistic. So hopefully that was a satisfying answer for that question.